Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. Enzo Maresca speaks about Romeo Lavia before the Palmeiras game. We also have updates regarding Jamie Gittens, Lesley Ugochukwu, and Noni to Arsenal looks to be on. Now, of course, I'll be giving my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k by the end of 2025. Kicking things off, Enzo Maresca said in his press conference he is unsure if Romeo Lavia will be fit tomorrow, meaning today. Small problems at the end of the Benfica game, muscular problem, and he will be assessed tomorrow, again, meaning today. Now, normally, I would be stressing because we have no Caicedo and then Lavia is that ultimate backup, or he should be playing alongside Caicedo and we have that midfield free of Enzo, Lavia, Caicedo. However, I'm not actually stressing. And that is because Chelsea finally have cover in that position when we have no Caicedo or no Lavia, or on the rare occasion, neither of them. We have Andre Santos and Dario Asugo. And Enzo Fernandez is still fit. He's one of our best players. He is a key player. He will be playing. So I'm less stressed. But talking about Romeo Lavia specifically, it is very frustrating. This guy is an incredible player. And when he plays, he is so good. The skill set he's got, the wheelhouse that he is like operating in is an unbelievable level. Breaking up the play, being cool, calm and collected, picking up the ball from defence and moving to midfield, driving from midfield, going forward to the final third, distribution of the ball. This guy has everything. The only problem he has is he cannot stay fit. And we've known this for a long time. Enzo Maresca has wrapped him in bubble wrap over and over and over again. We said the stat weeks ago that Romeo Lavia has played something ridiculous like the 2 years he's been with Chelsea. I think it was like 14 games and 7 of those were like 45 minutes. 7 of those were like up to 60 minutes or, you know, more than 45, less than 90. We know how injury prone this player is, but he's so good. Like I said, normally I would be stressing, but we do have cover. So I'm very interested to see who plays instead of, you know, Caicedo not being there and Lavia not being available. In my predicted 11, I went with Dario Asugo because he is the natural 6 out of him and Andre Santos. A lot of Chelsea fans online want Andre Santos to be starting. And look, I'd be happy to see either of them play. My personal opinion is Andre Santos is more of a box-to-box number 8 rather than that 6 midfielder that, you know, Caicedo can do. I know Caicedo does drive forward from time to time as well. He is really good at his ball carrying, but I feel like Asugo is the like for like in that specific scenario. Again, we'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding like Lavia's fitness. Are you stressed? Are you worried that we don't have Lavia and Caicedo for Palmeiras? It's going to be a massive ask for whoever fills in that gap, whether it is Dario Asugo or Andre Santos. But I do feel confident that we have this, you know, stacked middle of the park rotation that we can utilize them now. It just gives me a bit of breathing space. It allows me to be a bit more calm in these situations rather than being like, well, no Caicedo, no Lavia, we are absolutely screwed. So very curious to know your thoughts down below. Enzo Maresca also spoke about Estevao in his pre-match press conference. He said, I've never spoke to Estevao since I joined Chelsea. I've met his family at the training ground. Now is not the moment to talk about Estevao's future. He is a talented player. Everyone knows this, but at the moment, he's a Palmeiras player. Chelsea fans are so excited to see Willian Estevao, and every time we see him play for Palmeiras, he lights up the pitch. He tears up trees. He's fantastic. 2 man of the match performances so far in this Club World Cup tournament. He did dip off a little bit in the last couple of games, but it is what it is. He's a fantastic player, and Chelsea have got to look. We've got him coming to Chelsea next season. We've got this to look forward to. However, Palmeiras game is going to be very, very interesting because we don't want him to do well, because we don't want him sending us home. But at the same time, we don't want him to do poor because then we're like, who have we bought, right? And I know that that's an unfair reflection because we've watched him across this season. He's a fantastic player. But I think Enzo Maresca is right here. You know, at the moment, Estevao's a Palmeiras player. And as of tonight, as Chelsea fans, we shouldn't be supporting him beating us. That makes no sense. You don't want your team to lose. At the same time, we're just super excited for him to come to Stamford Bridge. I think he's really going to do well in the Premier League. It'd be very interesting to see, like we've mentioned later on in the video with Noni and other right-sided players that we currently have. I feel like it's going to be very interesting to see how Estevao is bedded into the Premier League, bedded into this Chelsea squad. Will he be a first teamer straight away? Will he need time to adjust? I personally feel like as a youngster, he's going to need time to adjust. We're getting loads of minutes centrally and on that right. I feel like he'll be substitute appearances till he earns his spot. I feel like he'll earn his spot rather quickly, especially on the right-hand side, in rotation with Neto, maybe even centrally with this new system that Enzo Maresca is trying to play, where it's like a 4-2-2-2, and there's like the front four are very fluid and moving throughout. So I feel like he's going to have a really good Chelsea career. We're also hoping that he has a really good Chelsea career. But again, it's kind of those bittersweet moments where we want to go through tonight. We also want to see Estevão do well, but we don't want to see him do well against us. So very curious to know your thoughts about Willian Estevão to Chelsea after the Club World Cup. Do you think he's going to tear us apart tonight? Do you feel like he'll play, Chelsea will be able to contain him? Because essentially you've got Cucurella. Cucurella is going to hopefully lock up Estevão tonight. It'll be a very good sign if he can, because this guy is super, super talented. But very curious to know your thoughts down below regarding Estevão. Are you excited to see him in a Chelsea shirt? Do you think he's going to do well in a Chelsea shirt? Do you think he's going to walk straight into the first team, or will he have to earn his minutes? Nizar Kinsella has reported that Chelsea want to ideally sell the midfielder Lesley Ugochukwu. He has received loan inquiries from Hamburg and Valencia. And the BBC also reported that Ugochukwu has received loan inquiries from the clubs like Valencia and Hamburg, but a Premier League loan remains the most likely option, with further clubs monitoring his situation closely, and Chelsea's preference is to sell. I feel so sorry for Lesley Ugochukwu and Carney Chukwuemeka, because I roped these two players in together. They were bought in the same window. They were, both struggling with injuries, reoccurring injuries, and then when they did get their opportunities to play, they played fantastically well. We also bought a lot more players that played in the positions that they can utilise, and unfortunately, they were never going to break into the first team because they couldn't stay fit enough to fight for their place. Now, Ugochukwu, I think, is a fantastic player. He went on loan last year to Southampton, and even though he had a bit of a turbulent loan spell in terms of he wasn't getting game time originally, and he couldn't even understand why, there was a bit of a spat between it because Lesley was being a bit more public about it and being like, can you play me, please? I'm here on loan. I want to play football. I'm good enough to be doing so. But he did eventually get a run of games, and I've got a few friends that are Southampton fans, and the general consensus online is Ugochukwu was a fantastic player in that Southampton team, and they really wanted to keep hold of him. Now, I would much prefer Ugochukwu to go on loan again, because I think that the qualities he has and how young he is and how much he can develop, the ceiling is so high for him. It's so high for him, and it would be a shame if Chelsea move him on. However, from Chelsea's perspective, we've got so many players, and the rotation within the positions that he can play is so stacked. So I feel like the realistic thing is Chelsea will sell him this summer rather than another loan move. The interesting question is who do we sell him to? Loan inquiries from Valencia and Hamburg, they seem like very good options for him to go develop his game even more, and it means it won't be a Premier League loan, so we haven't got to play against him. I know on a loan that you can't, but in terms of selling, right, I wouldn't want to sell him to another Premier League club, even though he's good enough for Premier League football. Of course he is. But again, Chelsea have so many players. We just don't want to have this season where we're just every game we seem to be playing against former players, because we know what happens. Chelsea have a long history of conceding goals or creating first of moments when it comes to playing against ex-players. And I feel like Ugochukwu and Carney Chukwuemeka specifically, they've had a bit of a rough ride in a Chelsea shirt because of how turbulent it's been. Not that I feel that they'll leave on bad blood or bad terms, but it's just disappointing from a fan's perspective, at least in my opinion. I'd love to know your thoughts below about Lesley Ugochukwu. Would you sell him? Would you keep him? Would you loan him out? Same with Carney Chukwuemeka. I feel like I said, they've gone on a very similar sort of path in a Chelsea shirt, which to me just seems like a shame because they're very good players. But again, we are so stacked in the positions that they utilise. So let me know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Lesley Ugochukwu. Fabrizio Romano has reported that it's understand Chelsea will pay £48.5 million fixed fee plus £3.5 million in add-ons for Jamie Gittens. Borussia Dortmund will also have a sell-on clause. And Dortmund sporting director Kell, I think that's how you pronounce it, apologies if I get it wrong, he then says the talks with Chelsea were challenging, but ultimately we are happy that we can probably realise our economic ideas and then have planning security. Jamie is an excellent player who has given a lot of joy. He now wants to take his next step in his career at Chelsea, and we wish him all the best and much success. Now, this is very, very interesting to me because I remember talking to you guys about the Jamie Gittens deal. I was very excited for him to be a Chelsea player. He still hasn't officially been announced by Chelsea, and I do wonder why that is. There's been no real inklings. It could be potentially because Dortmund are trying to, negotiate with Chelsea for Carney Chukwuemeka and that loan move, or maybe make it a permanent deal, and that could be kind of holding things up. We don't really know, but he is a Chelsea player. It's all signed, sealed, and delivered. But originally, it was reported that we were paid £55 million for him, and I said at the time, I think Gittens is a fantastic player. I really, really do. And Chelsea didn't want to pay the £55 million before the Club World Cup because they didn't want to pay Club World Cup tax. But then they went straight back in and ended up paying the £55 million. And I was a bit confused and not disappointed, but just a bit like, oh, Okay, so the negotiations were pretty pointless then, and we could have had him for this competition rather than now being cup tied and we can't use him. But it's all come out now that it's £48.5 million with £3.5 million in add-ons. That is an absolute bargain in my opinion. Knowing that I believe Newcastle and Elanga and Nottingham Forest, that deal is going to be around £55 million. I feel like Chelsea have done really well there to get Jamie Gittens in under £50 million of a flat fee. £3.5 million in add-ons. It's pretty standard. Some of them will be achievable, some of them will probably be a bit more difficult. But again, Dortmund have really worked hard in the negotiations to make sure they get the best deal possible, and Chelsea have worked their hardest to get it as cheap as possible for the player that they want. So I'm super happy with that personally. Would love to know your thoughts down below regarding that. Under £50 million for someone who's under 23, City Academy, played Champions League football, very like a perfect Enzo Maresca signing. I'm so excited to see him play in a Chelsea shirt because I just want to see what he can do. I genuinely feel like he can go on and crush it at Chelsea, especially fitting into an Enzo Maresca system. But I just thought it was very, very interesting that the figures, Fabrizio and all these other reliable reporters had said around, £55 million, including add-ons, and then it's come out at a different fee like a week later, and I just found that very strange. So, something must have got lost in translation, or something may not officially been finalised in terms of numbers, but the deal had been signed. I don't know. We know we've got Gittens on a 7-year deal. He wanted Chelsea. He turned down the likes of Bayern, which I absolutely love. We want players that want to play for Chelsea. So he's done all the right things, and I can't wait to see him play. I really can't. Now, do you think £45 million plus the add-ons is a good price for Gittens, or do you still think that Chelsea overpaid and we should have paid a little bit less? I would love to know your thoughts on the Jamie Gittens deal down below in the comments. Football Insider has reported that Chelsea are actively looking for buyers to sign Raheem Sterling and Noni Madueke. Fabrizio Romano also reported, I'm told in recent hours contacts are being taken place with the camp of Noni Madueke. Arsenal remain in contact with his camp. When people close to the player continue to meet the club, it means Noni Madueke has opened doors to a potential move. And Ed Aarons has reported that Arsenal and several other clubs are interested in signing Noni Madueke from Chelsea this summer. The England forward is thought to be valued at £50 million, but there is a belief that could be open to negotiation. This is very, very interesting to me. I know I always say that, but I just love having conversations with you guys about what's being reported, and I like reacting to it with you guys. Noni Madueke to Arsenal, we spoke about it many a times. You guys know my thoughts and opinions, but for those that are new viewers, I don't want Chelsea to sell Noni Madueke. I really don't. I think he's going to be a key part of this squad going forward, and he's got such a high potential. Arsenal seem to buy Chelsea players near the end of their career, or when, we've got the best out of them, if that's the right phrase. Apologies if it's not the right terminology. But you look at the likes of Cech and Willian and Jorginho and Havertz you can make an argument for, but they got Sterling on loan. They've now bought Kepa. He was with us for 7 years. And there's so many. David Luiz, for example. Noni Madueke isn't in that bracket, if you ask me. Now, there is a lot of Chelsea fans that want Noni Madueke gone. Cool, I respect your opinion. There's a lot of Chelsea fans that want to keep Noni Madueke. Again, respect your opinion. For me, I think he's a valuable part of the squad going into next season, and it would be this do-or-die season for him. He would really need to kick on. With the likes of Estevao coming back, obviously you've got Pedro Neto on that right-hand side. We've got Gittens on that left. We've got João Pedro who can play on that left too. The availability for first-team football on the wide areas is going to get a lot slimmer as the season goes on if Noni doesn't pull his socks up. And that's not to say that he doesn't work hard enough. It's not to say he's not good enough. He is, but it means that Enzo Maresca is going to demand more from these players on the pitch week in, week out, across all competitions. So he has to maintain that high standard. Whereas this season, it was pretty much a given he was going to play because we had limited left wingers and there was a rotation on the right all the time. So the situation changes. Now, is Noni Madueke open to the negotiations? Is he open to that move? It appears that his camp, he is, because his camp keeping contact with Arsenal. It would be a fantastic signing for Arsenal. £50 million, Chelsea would not turn that down. It's been reported it's like 45 million plus 5 million in add-ons. They would be happy to listen to that. They've also said many times Jackson and Madueke are not untouchable. They will listen to decent offers. So if you're Noni Madueke in this situation, would you go to Arsenal over Chelsea? That's a genuine question. I'd love to know your thoughts below. I mean, the tribalism in us would say, as fans, would say, no, of course not. You'd stay at Chelsea. But from a player's perspective, going to a Premier League team that's, got a well-established system, a manager's been there a long time. They've finished second for the last 3 seasons. Yes, they've not won anything, but they are competing across all fronts. He would be a backup to Bukayo Saka, but he could also play on the left. So I think he might get more game time. And again, I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't really know their squad in and out, so that could be wrong. But this is just my assumptions on Noni Madueke going to Arsenal. So it'd be very interesting. Because again, if Noni Madueke decides to go, there's not really much we can do about it. As long as Arsenal pay the money, Noni's gone. But that does open... It's kind of like a domino effect, right? Because Chelsea are obviously heavily linked with Mohamed Kudus and other wingers as well. Like Nusa was linked for a little bit. It's gone really quiet on that front so far. And also Malik Fofana, who has a club-to-club agreement, but no player agreement with any of the moves from Lyon. And that's to involve Nottingham Forest. But Chelsea is still interested, and they want 51.5 million. So if Noni goes for 50 million, that frees up some money, and I feel like Chelsea can then go in for Mohamed Kudus with even more money laid down, or for Malik Fofana on the left hand side, because we'll have Estevao and Neto for the right, and we'll have dedicated left and right wingers who can play either side if needed. At least some of them can. So I feel it's going to be a bit of a domino effect. If Noni opens the door and he leaves, I wish him well. You know, fair play. I feel like that will be one decision that Chelsea regret in the future, because I feel like he still can go and develop and be an absolute world beater. I'd like Chelsea to keep him. But again, if he does go, it's a 1-in, 1-out on that side. So it's going to be someone like Mohamed Kudus, or, you know, maybe another winger that we are interested in signing. So who knows what happens. It looks like the talks are on for Noni and Arsenal, because otherwise, like Fabrizio said, if the camp keeps continuing to talk with the player and the two clubs, then the player has actually said, yeah, I might be open to it. Let's talk about this further. So it'll be very interesting to see how this develops, because it's kind of been on, off, and it looks like it could be on. So very interested to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Noni Madueke to Arsenal. And when it comes into Raheem Sterling, which was mentioned, Chelsea are actively looking to sell him. Well, of course we are. We want to get him off the wage book, because we're paying him extortionate amounts of money. He doesn't fit into the system. We could essentially keep him as a you know, someone that we could play on the left hand side, or even the right hand side if needed, but more like the left hand side. I don't feel like we will do that. I don't think Maresca would want a player like Sterling personally. Again, could be wrong, but I feel like Sterling needs to go. We want him off the wage bill. He went on loan to Arsenal last season, and in my opinion, it was not a successful loan spell. And I'm sure Arsenal fans would agree in that sense that it just was a poor loan spell. And we were still paying like 50% of his wages, right? Yes, it takes some of it off of our wage bill for the season, but Chelsea are going to want to get it completely off. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Raheem Sterling in terms of selling him, because he's under contract, he's got that high wages. It's going to be very hard to offload him unless he goes to somewhere like Saudi. Now, will Sterling go to someone like Saudi? I don't know. Will another Premier League club come and pick him up and pay them wages? I don't think so. So it'd be very interesting to know your thoughts down below regarding Sterling and Noni Madueke. And that's all the latest Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comment section. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that, you are a real one. And secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure to click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.